KFI AM 640, more stimulating talk radio. John and Ken Show. John Cobell and Ken Champeau, Ayers Hotel in Anaheim, 2550 East Catella Avenue. We're right near the 57, and we're right near the Honda Center and Angels Stadium. And one of the Kashkari supporters has started to bark. Good.
It is a packed
room. I expect
room.
that from the Donnelly crowd, but that's good. We got a really, really packed room here, and it's getting really warm.
Standing room only is not an exaggeration. There's people standing all along the sides and the back. And we want to thank the Ayers family, of course, for hosting us again. The Ayers Hotel's always right there for KFI, the John and Ken Show. We want to do an event, and we have a great venue right here today at the Ayers Hotel in Anaheim. The website is ayershotels.com, AYRES hotels.com.
All right, so quickly, Tim Donnelly is on my left.
Your right.
Your right.
You're sitting in the aisle. You're right. You get it? Yeah.
Neel Kashkari is on my right. Your left. Tim has been an assemblyman from the Lake Arrowhead area for the last few years, and Neel Kashkari was a Treasury Department official during the Bush administration. That's, a one-line bio there. We're going to let them talk for about a minute each to introduce themselves and explain their main points, and then after that it's really simple. I'll ask a question of one, then the other guy gets to respond again, then Ken will ask a question of one of them, and then the other guy will get to respond. And after 6 o'clock, we'll work in you here in the audience, okay?
And in between, they will question each other.
Yes. And
we're doing that. I told Tim off the air, get ready, because you're going to ask Neel a direct question. It won't come from John and Ken or the audience who want to know what you want to ask Neel, and vice versa.
Right.
So.
We want clear, direct answers. If there aren't clear and direct, we're going to call you on it. You guys can cheer, but wait until the end of the candidate's statement or opinion or answer, okay? And then let them speak clearly. Otherwise, we'll just drag you out, okay? And it's really hot out there in the parking lot, so you don't want to be ejected.
And if our stand-in, Jerry Brown, has anything to say, he may...
That's right. Jerry Brown would not come to the debate, but we have what's left of him over there in the corner there.
Yeah, he's a little frail these days.
He's already been lubricated twice over.
Come on.
So welcome, everyone, including the media weasels. And let's start off with, how about, Tim, you go first. We'll give you about a minute.
Great. Well, thanks, everyone, for coming here today. I'd like to take a moment to say to everyone who's been affected by this fire that our thoughts and prayers are with you all. And let's keep our firefighters and everyone on the front lines in prayer. You know, I came to California when I was 19 years old. I'm the third oldest of 14 kids. And let me tell you, we lived in a 4-bedroom, 1.5 bathroom home. And, yeah, that 0.5 was real important in the morning. About half my family saw me off, and I turned to wave goodbye to them, and they were inside fighting over my room. My dad chased me halfway down the street and gave me $2 in quarters, and he said, "Son, whatever you do, don't call home." But you know what? I should have been nervous. I should have been worried, but I knew where I was going. I was going to California, to the land of opportunity, to a place where the only limitation on your dreams is what you can imagine and how hard you're willing to work. You know, within a decade, I had met and married the most amazing woman, my wife, Rowena. We have 5 sons and a grandson, and I was living the California dream with my own business and manufacturing until along came the government. I want my state back. I want my freedom back. And I want my sons to have the same opportunity that I had to live the California dream without having to leave the state of California to do it.
All right, Tim. Thank you very much.
Tim Donnelly.
Neel Kashkari, your turn.
All right, well, thank you, John and Ken and Tim. Thank you for being here, and thank you, all of the audience and all of the listeners at home. It's a great opportunity for me. I'm running for governor because I want to defeat Jerry Brown, period. There's a model for doing it. Folks, as Republicans, we're down to 28% in our state, registered Republicans. Every year we decline, we shrink. If we don't grow our party, we're not going to win another election, period. So my vision for California and for the state and for our party is to bring everyone together, to unite us on the principles of hard work, fiscal responsibility, the rule of law. Now, folks, there's a model that this works. We just won a great resounding victory in San Diego with Kevin Faulconer as a great new mayor. Now, how did he do it? He did it by reaching out to every group, Latinos, African Americans, Asians. He said, I want you with me. If you're committed to working hard, I want you with me. Let's go defeat the Democrats. And he crushed his labor-funded Democratic opponent. If Kevin Faulconer can do that in San Diego, we can do that in California. That's my vision. Thank you very much.
All right, we're going to start out now. I'm going to ask Neel a question, and then Tim, you can answer it as well, and then Ken will ask Tim a question, and Neel will answer it. First question I want to ask, no surprise to the audience, is about the tax situation in California. We are at or near the top in all the major taxes and have been for a long time, and all the high tax states in the country have suffering economies. There's clearly a connection. But now we're at the point where the top 1% of Californians are paying 51% of the state income tax. And a lot of that is because of a great stock market and capital gains taxes. And you know what happens? Next time we've got a stock market crash, all that money is going to dry up. We'll have a $20 billion deficit. Is it fair to have the top 1% pay over 50% of the income tax? And is it a smart policy? And how would you specifically change the tax structure?
Well, you're exactly right for raising that point. It's a huge problem. Our taxes are too high, and we're not getting our money's worth for the taxes that we're collecting. But here's what the Democrats have done. They've made the tax code so progressive that almost any tax cut by definition is a tax cut for the rich. So they paint us into a corner. So it's very hard to change that. So my plan is, step one, to put people back to work. If we lower our unemployment rate, we have more people paying taxes, then it's going to be easier for us to lower that overall tax rate, and then that makes the economy grow even faster. So you're exactly right. We have to address it, but I think the step one is putting California families back to work. Step two is then lowering that tax rate so we all are better off.
All right, Tim.
You know, we had an employer in the city of San Bernardino that sells gun safes. Gun safes are a big, bulky product, and we passed all kinds of laws to require that you buy a gun safe. You'd think that a gun safe maker, knowing he's going to have a banner year, would stay in the state of California. But he moved, and he took hundreds of jobs with him in a place where we'd have hardly any jobs at all. And I asked him why he was moving. And he said, when the government can put a gun to my head and steal from me, and Prop 30 was retroactive, and I've got no ability to change my behavior. And he said, when they take the money and instead of giving it to the kids in the classroom, it's hijacked by the teachers union. He said, California has lost its moral and ethical basis for its government. We need to lower tax rates and grow the base, and we need to get this economy moving. And you know what? The best way to do that is get the government out of the way.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I'll have a question for Tim, and then Neel will be able to answer it as well. We are at the Ayers Hotel in Anaheim, 2550 East Catella. We've got this big governor's debate going on here. Tim Donnelly and Neel Kashkari.
John and Ken Show. Shannon has the news.
Nearly 13.
John and Ken Show. John Cobell and Ken Chapeau. It's KFI AM 640. More stimulating talk radio at the Ayers Hotel in Anaheim. Our debate between two Republican candidates who are going to be in the gubernatorial primary June 3rd. Tim Donnelly and Neel Kashkari. Jerry Brown was invited, but that's all we got. We got a Jerry Brown skeleton over there.
Very sad.
Doesn't want to talk to the voters. Doesn't want to talk to the taxpayers.
No.
Not interested. So, and as maybe you don't know, I ran into a guy today who didn't realize that it's this primary is just one primary. It's not separated into Democratic and Republican parties.
First time in the governor's race this has happened.
Everybody's on the same ballot. The top two go on in November. So, I mean, theoretically, both Tim Donnelly and Neel Kashkari could be 1 and 2 and end up meeting each other again in November. But odds are Jerry Brown's going to get in there, and odds are one of these two men will fight him in November, and so that's why we have them both debating. So let's continue.
Yeah, and that's a perfect segue to my question, which we'll start with Tim. I mean, I'm serious about this. I want to beat Jerry Brown. But this is not 2003. Gray Davis is not governor. We don't have the same deficit problem we had then and all the problem with the electricity crisis. Everything went on. We don't have Schwarzenegger all his money. You know where I'm going with this. Yeah. Tim, if you do finish second, and I'm amazed and I'm very glad that you did finish second in a lot of polls right now. You're showing up second. I think that's great. And you're the candidate against Jerry Brown. My question is, how do you beat him? How are you going to get all the people that are not your staunch Republican conservatives, and they call them Tea Party supporters? You've got to go beyond that. What are you going to do?
Well, absolutely. Look, here's the deal. We have over 50 locations right now where people are walking door to door. We've got over 1,000 people in this state that are going to help me walk California. Well, you know what? After the primary, should I advance, and I believe that I will, I am not going to be walking just to Republican doors. I'm walking into communities that Republicans haven't been to in years. And you know what? Jerry Brown is not going to show up. He doesn't feel like he has to. And I don't think he understands what can happen when you're so arrogant. When you look at what he has done to this state and the way it has affected people. He took us from first to last in the past 40 years in everything that matters. We were first in education, and now we're circling the drain, competing with Alabama and Mississippi and losing. You know what? That matters to people. And we need common sense education reform, not Common Core.
All right, Neel, same thing for you. How are you going to, if you become the Republican, well, you become the number one or number two candidate representing the Republican Party? Both of you have name recognition problems. How are you going to expand beyond that 28% Republican base that you talked about in your opening statement?
1992, George Herbert Walker Bush had a 90% approval rating coming out of the Gulf War. No Democrat, credible Democrat, dared challenge him. Just this little-known governor from this little-known state of Arkansas named Bill Clinton. You remember what Bill Clinton said? He said, "It's the economy, stupid." And he focused like a laser on the struggles of middle-class families in America in 1992. And what did he do? He unfortunately went and beat him. Well, the middle class of California has been destroyed over the past 30 or 40 years. My entire campaign is about rebuilding the middle class through a good education and a good job. And I'm going to focus like a laser on the middle-class families, and I'm going to beat Jerry Brown.
All right, let's talk about education, because there was a headline the other day that an abysmally low percentage of California students are proficient in math and reading, and we spend more money than we ever have. Most of it goes to teachers, administrators, and staff. That's 75-80% of the budget in every school district. It's for their salaries, their pensions, their health care. It doesn't go to the kids. It goes to the teachers and the administrators. That's where it goes. And they're making good money. The teachers are usually number 2 or number 1 in the country. So when you talk about this, given the limited powers of government, how do you change it? Because the kids clearly are not learning. They're not performing well when by any metric. And you've got the teachers union buying every charlatan off in Sacramento. So what are you going to do when you sit there?
So I have a very specific education plan that's focused on putting the power and the money that we spend in the hands of our parents to let them decide how we educate our kids. You know what? I want to let our schools bring vocational training back into the school. Not every kid is going to go to college. The kids that don't, they matter too. Let's bring welding back. Let's bring machine shop class back, and let the parents decide how the money is spent. That's how we turn our schools around.
Can you do that? How do you do that? You got to get some kind of legislation passed?
Here's the thing. We need legislation, but if the legislature blocks us, the governor of California has extraordinary power if he has the courage to use it. The governor has a line-item veto. The President of the United States does not have that. The governor has the ability to go right to you, the voters, with a ballot measure and overrule the legislature. The President of the United States does not have that. I will use every power of my office to reach the voters, to make the changes, to make sure no child goes with a bad education the way they are today.
All right, Tim, your chance to address this education question.
Well, the first thing is your zip code shouldn't determine your future. And we have millions of kids trapped in failing schools. We need to have school choice. And you know what? There was a study that just came out that said that California has the most segregated schools in the country. Well, that's a shame, because education is the absolute key to success. But Jerry Brown and the teachers union have knocked out the bottom 3 rungs of that ladder. And the way we fix it is real simple. We need to start by respecting teachers. We've got teachers that are in a system that's designed to fail. We need to come up with a fair way to evaluate teachers. That way we can pay the good teachers more. We can get the great teachers to travel around the state teaching their teaching methods to all the other teachers, just like we do in the business world. And then, if the teachers have bought into this fair way of evaluating them, we'll have a fair way to get rid of the teachers who never should have spent a single moment in a classroom with our kids, so we can put the students first instead of the union.
All right. Yep, we're going to take a break. We'll be back more here at the Ayers Hotel in Anaheim on Catella. We have Tim Donnelly, the Assemblyman, taking on Neel Kashkari in this debate ahead of the June 3rd primary in the governor's race.
John and Ken Show. Shannon has the news. John and Ken Show.
Yeah.
John Cobell, Ken Shampoo, KFI AM 640, more stimulating talk radio.
At the Ayers Hotel in Anaheim, as promised, on East Catella, right near the 57 freeway by Angel Stadium Honda Center. Anyway, we've had so many people in here, the fire marshal had to throw some out because this was a standing room crowd.
It feels like 105 degrees a little bit, too.
Yeah, it's getting warmer and warmer in here. We got Tim Donnelly running for governor as a Republican. We got Neel Kashkari running for governor as a Republican. We did invite Jerry Brown, but he never got back to us. We just got obnoxious, jerky messages from Dan Newman, one of his idiot strategists. So we brought Jerry Brown as a skeleton here.
Yay.
And that's fairly close to the way Jerry looks these days. Let's continue with the debate, and I think it's your turn.
Yeah, it is. And we'll start with Tim again, and then Neel can respond. It would be an amazing thing if Jerry Brown did not finish in the top two. Let's be honest about that. We're not going to fool ourselves here in terms of what's going to happen on June 3rd. But, Tim, obviously, a lot's gone on. Neel has started to put some money into his campaign. He's gotten some major endorsements by major Republican establishment types. Condoleezza Rice today, I see, weighed in that she's endorsing Neel for governor. Here's and you are not. I mean, I saw a quote for you today. I'm not a country club Republican type. My question is, what's wrong with Neel? What would you say to the voters who are trying to choose between you two right now as to why? I mean, you could go after this by telling me why people should love Tim, but I want to know what's wrong with picking a Neel Kashkari.
I do not recall. Look, I think that Neel Kashkari is a nice guy. And I think he's sincere. And I think he cares about this state. And campaigns are won when you inspire people and fire them up with ideas. And, the bottom line is, who has the best vision for getting California moving again? Okay. Well, I wasn't actually looking for a poll, but here's the deal. I believe that we ought to unleash California's prosperity by tapping the Monterey Shale. Create up to 3 million new jobs in this state, and then we'd have problems like they're having in North Dakota. Then we'd have a problem of unemployment under 3%. And instead of governor pushing a $10 or $15 hour minimum wage to put an artificial floor under the economy, McDonald's there is paying $20 an hour plus a signing bonus. If we could create 3 million new jobs and $25 to $30 billion in additional revenues, we get Californians working again, and we start paying down that mountain of debt and getting our balance sheet in order. Then our kids and our grandkids don't have to seek opportunity in other states. I want to have one immigration problem. I want to see a tsunami of U-Hauls coming back here from Rick Perry's Texas, coming home to California.
All right, Neel, the same thing for you. A lot of people today listening to this show want to choose between the two of you. Why not Tim?
Sure. I think we have – look, I respect Tim. I think he's run a very hard campaign. He has a wonderful family, and I admire that about him. I think we have very different visions for the Republican Party, and that's what this election comes down to. I want to grow our party. I want to bring everyone together and unite us on the principles of hard work and personal responsibility. And I'm going to be honest with you. The reason that so many people have come out and endorsed me, it's partly because they like me, but it's partly because they really worry about the Republican Party. And Tim, to be direct, in the last few months, you've managed to denigrate Latinos, African Americans, Jews, Muslims, Hindus. That's true. That's true. And if we are shrinking our party If we are shrinking our party, we are not going to win another election, period. I am going to bring everyone together and lift us all up. That's the difference between the two of us.
Well, you respond to that, Tim, since that was pretty direct.
Hey, calm down, guys. Calm down. Let Tim respond.
Well, to quote a friend of mine, they don't kick a dead dog. They only attack you when you're the front runner and you're a threat. And the only colors that matter to me are red, white, and blue, because those are the colors of freedom.
Does it bother you at all that the major Republican types, Darrell Issa and such, have either attacked you or are clearly supporting Neel?
When was the last time they won anything of any significance?
Darrell Issa has been elected for 14 years, is one of the most conservative Republicans in Congress. Hang on, just step back for a second, folks. For 1 second, just step back. The Lincoln Club of Orange County has not endorsed me. This is one of the oldest, most conservative groups in California. They helped Ronald Reagan get his start. They came out and said that you're not fit to be governor, Tim. That's their choice. I didn't say it, they said it.
Well, thank God that the California voters are going to decide that, not the Orange County Lincoln Club. And you know what? I think we need to bring a lot more country into the country club.
Do you think all those endorsements mean anything? Because we talked earlier about how you have to expand the base and you have to reach out to places even beyond every Republican voter in the state. So
if you're talking about expanding the base. See, endorsements aren't going to do it. But I'll tell you how we're going to expand the base. When I'm going out there organizing around issues like Common Core, the people who are showing up haven't even been involved in politics. This is uniting Republicans and Democrats. It's uniting people who are rich and poor. It is uniting everybody who has children because they're uniting as parents. And when I walk door to door, and I've been walking door to door, I'm winning votes of everybody whose doorstep I walk on. You want to know why? Because I show up and I care.
Let me ask you this, Neel. Let's flip this around. The wing of the party that's endorsing you, that you're representing here, is it possible that your endorsers are out of touch with a big chunk of the Republican Party that likes Neel? He's got a significant following.
I mean, yeah. Were you stunned when these polls came out last month that showed Tim there in second place and you down at 2%? So did that surprise you?
No, because this is like the Iowa straw poll, which picked Michelle Bachmann number 1 and Mitt Romney number 7. So it's just very early. At the end of the day, most voters have not been paying attention to this race, and the vast majority of voters don't know who any of the Republican candidates are. And so in this last month, it's critical to reach as many voters as possible, talk about the issues, and earn their trust and their support.
But how do you connect with that wing of the party?
Well, I think that what I've found is that every family that I've met, everybody within the Republican Party, every ethnic group, they want the same thing. They want their kids to get a good education, and they want a good job. And if we unite everyone on a positive economic message of lifting everyone up through hard work, that's how we win. Kevin Faulconer just did it in San Diego. I'm going to do it. And Andy Videk. And I'm going to do it statewide.
All right. What we're going to do is take a break. When we come back, it'll be an opportunity for Tim to ask Neel a direct question and vice versa. We're at the Ayers Hotel in Anaheim, 2550 East Catella, right off the 57 freeway. And by the way, Neel, Shannon to your right likes you with the axe in that commercial.
I did like the ad.
Thank you very much.
It sounded
It's actually
kind
a
of
mall,
crazy.
but it sounds better with an axe.
It was good stuff. It was active.
So they'll be asking each other questions after 6. We're going to have the audience with their questions lined up for either candidate. But, of course, whoever they ask, the other one can respond as well. It's all coming up.
John and Ken Show, Ayers Hotel in Anaheim, and Shannon has the news.
A fire in the Fallbrook area near Camp.
AFI,
John and Ken Show.
AM 640. How you were busy with us. a fan.
All right, everybody sit down here.
There we go.
We're at the Ayers Hotel in Anaheim. We had a huge crowd here. So many people, the fire marshal had to chase some listeners out.
They're still walking around taking pictures, so they're looking for hazards, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. Those guys should be in San Marcos, right?
Well, there's a lot of fires.
Fire people.
Yeah,
we're here with Tim Donnelly and Neel Kashkari. They're both running in the June 3rd primary for governor. Top two go on to November. Jerry Brown likely to be one of the two. One of the other gentlemen to get into the finals will either be Donnelly or Kashkari.
I mean, there's 15 people on the ballot, although I believe one dropped out, so technically there's 14 people. We expect it'll be one of these two guys behind Jerry Brown, we think. But anyway, what we're going to do now, at 6 o'clock, by the way, the audience will have a chance to question either guy, whoever they pick to give their question to. The other one can also respond. We have a chance now for these guys to ask each other direct questions, whatever line they want to
Neel,
take.
it's your turn to go first, so you get to ask Tim a direct question.
Thank you, Tim. You've said that guns are a big issue for you, and you're a big defender of gun rights. You introduced a bill recently that takes power away from county sheriffs and puts our gun rights in the hands of Kamala Harris. Why would you do that?
The Attorney General.
I ran a bill that would make absolutely certain that the promise of the Second Amendment, which is very simple, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And
but Kamala Harris, Tim.
My bill, let me answer the question. My bill would have made it possible so that everyone in the state of California, not only those who are wealthy, not only those who can write $27,000 checks, not only those who are politically connected, but everyone would have the right to a constitutional civil right of self-defense in public.
But Tim, you didn't address the question. Forgive me. The question was, you're giving our power away from county sheriffs that you elected and giving them to Kamala Harris. If I'm governor, I will never take your gun rights and give them to Kamala Harris. I promise you that.
Well, so just to clarify for people listening, because I'm not even familiar with this, this bill would give the state attorney general the right to decide
who gets concealed carry permits away from the county sheriffs, and it gives it to Kamala Harris. I'll never do that.
Right now, in the state of California, you have to go to a sheriff
that you elected
to ask for the right to exercise a fundamental civil right. My bill would have made California a shall-issue state, meaning if you pass the background check, you get the concealed carry permit. It's that simple. And we lowered the price to $100 instead of what it is now, and we guaranteed you'd get it in 30 days. That way your civil right of self-defense does not end at the border of a county, and you're not subject to the capriciousness of one sheriff who might not agree with you. And there are counties where they don't issue any concealed carry permits. And you know what? I think the founders intended for us to be in charge of our own destiny. And this is one way that that promise would have been made whole.
But just be clear,
the Democrats killed it.
Kamala Harris, you trust Kamala Harris with our gun rights. I don't trust Kamala Harris with our gun rights.
All right.
Are you both packing, by the way, right now?
Yeah.
Just to be clear.
We had an idea that you guys could have
Are you calling me weak on the Second Amendment?
I'm a gun owner.
This is going to be a first.
I'm a gun owner, Tim. I own 4 guns, and I don't want to give my gun rights to Kamala Harris. I can promise you that.
We can have a duel next hour.
No, we're not firing the guns off here.
All right, now, Tim,
your turn.
Your question for Neel.
I just have a very simple question. Why'd you vote for Barack Obama?
Barack Obama is a partisan warrior who is more interested in defeating Republicans than in healing the country. Now, listen, I'm answering your question. I worked for President George W. Bush. We were tackling the worst economic crisis our nation has faced since the Great Depression. And we actually met with both candidates. And I got to tell you something, John McCain had no idea what was going on in the financial crisis. And so I strongly fought to preserve our country's economy. And then once we saw who Barack Obama really was, I strongly supported Mitt Romney for president. And I'm proud that Mitt Romney has endorsed me for governor. He didn't endorse you, Tim. Mitt Romney endorsed me for governor, and I'm proud of that.
I think we should point out, if you're just joining us, that Neel used to be in the Bush administration in the Treasury Department overseeing the TARP program, which handed out all the money to the banks after the economic collapse. So you're saying that you met with John McCain and he didn't know what was going on.
We met with both McCain campaign and the Obama campaign, and were shocked at how poor the economic advice that McCain was getting. Now, I'll tell you something. I'm really proud of my service in Washington for President Bush. I'm proud that we stabilized the economy. We got all of our money back, and we even made a $13 billion profit for the American people. No other program in American history has done that.
All right.
All right. We're going to take a break for the news. When we come back, you get your chance, okay? We're going to try to make this orderly, but the final half hour of the debate is going to be questions from the audience. You follow Oscar's lead. You do what he says.
you might get to be part of it.
Okay, you ask your question. If for some reason the question appears to be a complete waste of time, we're just going to move on, all right? So just understand that.
You can direct it to both or either one, but whoever you direct it to, the other one gets a chance to follow up. And I want you guys to do just what you've done in this last segment. If you don't like the answer by your opponent, just jump in.
And also,
this is a free-form show.
Try to ask questions that you think most of the audience would relate to, okay? And nothing too obscure or arcane, all right? John and Ken show here. We're at the Ayers Hotel in Anaheim. The debate between Republican candidates Tim Donnelly and Neel Kashkari for governor. Shannon Farron is the news. KFI AM 640, more stimulating talk radio. It's the John and Ken Show. John Cobell and Ken Champeau.
Right.
The Ayers Hotel in Anaheim for our governor's debate with two of the main candidates. Obviously, Jerry Brown running for the Democrats, but he didn't come.
No, but the stand-in is here.
The stand-in is here.
I asked him if he wanted to rub some lotions. He politely declined.
I rubbed some lotions.
But he and I were wondering if that's going to make any newscast tonight. Along with
maybe we got to put him in the middle, I think. Then,
no.
It's
Shannon,
every shot.
She's Miss Veto today,
I'm
man.
vetoing this.
Thanks, Mom.
You got to lube up the skeleton earlier today. This is a serious debate now.
Tim Donnelly to
Mama Rule Maker.
Yeah,
that's me.
Jeez, and eat your vegetables.
Call the moist line, lady.
Tim Donnelly's to my left, Neel Kashkari to my right. Likely only one of these two men will be in the finals in November. The primary is June 3rd.
Yeah, and you know what? I haven't decided yet, but it will be one of these two guys that I will vote for. There's just no question about that. We want Jerry Brown out. I don't know much about the other candidates, but I've come to learn a lot about these two guys, and we hope our listeners have too. Briefly, I just want to thank the Ayers Hotels for hosting us once again here in Anaheim. Excellent job that they do. They gave us a nice big room. And anytime you want to take a trip or you got friends or relatives coming into town, don't forget Ayers Hotels. That's AYRESHotels.com.
Okay, we promised in the last half hour we'd have some of the audience members ask a question, so do so. And again, try to make the question something that most people listening can relate to.
Thank you. My name's Amanda. I'm a parent in the Sentinel Valley Unified School District. I was going to ask either of you, what will you do to stop the uncontrolled, unmatched power of a school board to spend the money that they did in our district that is happening across California? School boards have no accountability, yet they're supposed to be accountable. Fiscal responsibility, you both talk about that. What is the reality of what you're really going to do? Can you create an agency just to stop this madness? Thank you.
Tim?
Well, the bottom line with schools is right now the greatest threat to our kids' education are the policies of Jerry Brown. I mean, he's taken us from first to last. And what you're talking about right now, we elect school boards. And unfortunately, the unions generally control the entire school board. They make it a point, the teachers union, to buy school boards. And that's how we've lost control of our school boards. We need to do something about the power, the unmitigated power that public sector unions, particularly the teachers union, because they've become the greatest threat to our children's future success.
Neel? What can be done here? You know, we're told all the time that the kids are not getting enough money. You send the money, and the school board gives the superintendent $750,000.
I'm so glad you asked that question because my specific education plan, which you all can read about, it's on my website, is to bypass the school board, to send the money right to the school site so the parents have control, not the school board. So I agree with you 100%. You're exactly right in your question. My plan directly addresses that problem. Thank you for asking it.
All right, who's next? Oscar, who do we have next? Hi.
Hi, my name is Evelyn Miller. I have a question for both candidates. Are you in favor or opposed to California spending billions of dollars annually for public benefits to illegal aliens? And if you're elected, what would you do about it?
We'll start with Neel on
Neel,
this one.
you can go first there.
Look, we need to enforce the rule of law in our immigration system here. And the reason that immigration, this is related to your question, the reason immigration is so hard to solve is because Barack Obama does not enforce the law. He chooses which laws he wants to enforce. But I'll tell you this, it's not just Obama. It's also politicians in Sacramento. Our politicians don't think the laws apply to them. How many elected officials have arrest records, including my opponent? If our elected officials do not follow the law, we cannot trust them to enforce the law. We need our politicians to enforce the law of the land in California and nationally. If our elected officials don't think the rules apply to them, they're never going to apply the rules to everybody else.
All right, Tim, your turn.
Is a question about illegal immigration?
Yeah, spending billions.
And where I stand?
Well, yeah.
What can you do about it?
We may have a lot of people tuning in, Tim, that don't know you that well because this has got a lot of attention.
I know in L.A. County they're spending $1.5 billion every year just on medical care.
Well, you know, what we do in California, yeah, that's a survey that's done every year by Mike Antonovich's office, who, by the way, endorsed me.
There you go.
But here's the deal. Under Jerry Brown, he has taken our kids' spots in college, people who came here legally spots in college, and he has said it's important to make sure that we provide those to people who come to this country illegally. It's an open-ended entitlement. Look, we all feel empathy for the kids who were brought here through no fault of their own, so we've addressed that. But this is an open-ended entitlement that is going to grow at a rapid rate because people respond to markets. So we should cut off and stop incentivizing with taxpayer dollars services and benefits for those who come here the wrong way. And then we should say, hey, we want you here. So let's make a simple way. Let's simplify the pathway we already have of legal immigration because we need more people here. And that's the bottom line. And you know what? If we do that, given that illegal immigration affects California more than any other state, and by the way, this is a massively bipartisan issue when it comes to education. But you know what? If we were to address that, we could lead the nation instead of waiting for Barack Obama to come up with any answers to anything. I mean, that guy has taken us on a pathway that has, look at what it's done to your jobs with Obamacare. And you know what? By the way, remember, that wasn't supposed to apply to people in the country illegally. And guess what? He lied.
All right. We got to move on. Let's get another question up here, and then Tim will go first with the answer.
Thank you, gentlemen. Assemblyman Donnelly, would you mind recording so I can hold on to the mic? Thank you.
The guy brought his...
With my Samsung Galaxy Note 3, greatest one ever.
Oh, it's like a video selfie.
My question really quickly. Politicians like Antonio Villaraiza and Governor Brownturd make pointless trips to China and other areas, citing that they're going to have some kind of influence back at home in America. We have a pressing issue right now. Sergeant Andrew Tamaresi, who is stuck in Mexico in a jail, and it would take something as simple as a phone call from Barack Obama to get him out of jail. Now, what would both of you do with situations with Sergeant Andrew Tamaresi right now and other ones in the future to use your political influence or your ability to get onto the media to have a positive influence?
All right, let me explain. This is the guy
people who don't know.
who he's a war veteran. He's got post-traumatic stress disorder. He was moving from Florida to San Diego, got lost on the freeway, missed his exit, ended up in Tijuana, and we went through the customs border. They found
told them, right?
Yeah, he told me he had guns in the car, and then they put him in jail, and he's been in trouble ever since in the jail. So what can either of these two do if they were governor? I think it's Neel's turn to answer first.
There's a ton that the governor can do. Look, the governor has the biggest bully pulpit in the world. The governor can talk to the prime ministers and the presidents of these countries where our people, our citizens are being held, and say, if you want to do business in California, then you know what? You're going to have to respect our citizens in your country. And you know what the governor should be doing? Is also flying to Washington, D.C. If Nancy Pelosi and Barbara Boxer and Dianne Feinstein are not willing to do the work of the California people, the governor of California has a responsibility to do it. And as governor, I will be fighting for all California people in Washington and around the world.
All right, Tim, your shot.
As soon as I heard that, I can't even tell you the words that I said. But
go ahead.
But I'll tell you what I don't think you can bleep me fast enough. Because, look, when someone puts their life on the line so that we can live free, and he is still an active duty Marine. This is a man that made a wrong turn. Next thing you know, his country just abandons him. So I wrote a letter already to the Secretary. And I copied Jerry Brown and a whole lot of other people, and I put it out there. But that's not enough. We need to make a lot of noise. And if I was the governor of state of California, I would have taken a helicopter, and I would be landing on the border and holding a protest and demanding that they free our Marine.
In fact, let's just leave Anaheim now and take a contingent down to Tijuana, right? All right. Tim Donnelly, Neel Kashkari. When we come back, a few more questions from the audience. They'll also get to sum up whatever they want to say in conclusion for this debate. June 3rd is the day everybody votes. A lot of people have already voted by mail-in ballot, but June 3rd is the primary day. And again, the top two finishers in this primary will meet in November in the governor's race, and it'll likely be one of these two guys with Jerry Brown. We don't know. Maybe it'll be both of these guys.
Hey, did he get his phone back?
Yeah, that was a new one.
The selfie video?
The guy handed Tim his phone so that Tim could videotape him
I'm
asking
here to serve.
questions.
Here to serve.
Take it back.
There we go. John and Ken Show, Ayers Hotel in Anaheim, KFI AM 640, and Shannon has the news.
Another shelter.
John and Ken Show, KFI AM 640, more stimulating talk radio.
Come on,
live
Tim, come back to your chair, buddy.
Ayers Hotel, our governor's debate with the two Republican
He's
candidates.
working the crowd here, that Tim Donnelly.
Tim Donnelly, Neel Kashkari. All right, before we go back to the candidates, you got to hear this.
This is just outstanding.
Sacramento Bee has a column called Capitol Alert, and it starts off with saying Jerry Brown says he has no preference for which Republican emerges from the primary. And then they write, instead of the customary empty chair to mark Brown's absence, hosts John Cobell and Ken Champeau dressed a skeleton in a shirt and tie.
There it is.
Affixed bushy eyebrows and a name tag that reads Jerry. Brown briefly glanced at a reporter's photograph of the stand-in, but declined to comment on the stunt.
Darn it.
Now listen to this. He says, quote, I've talked to John and Ken, and what I found is that I could be in the middle of making a very impressive point, and they turned down my volume and continue to talk. As long as those are the rules, I don't think I'm going to play that game. He is lying. We have never done that.
Wow.
Ever. To him. Never, 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 never. That is an absolute, total, complete lie, and some reporter ought to make him prove that. Prove that. Because we got tapes of every appearance he's made on our show. There haven't been that many. We have never turned down his volume and talked over him. We never have done that. He's a liar.
If he's so proud of his record, why isn't he here to answer to the people of California?
Yeah, I mean, that is dirty and low. But, you know, as usual, it's printed because he said it, and nobody asks him to prove it. How about a date, a time, what was the subject, what was the context? Never happened, guarantee it. The governor's lying. But what do you expect?
All right, we are going to finish up with a couple more questions from people in the audience, and then we'll let Tim and Neel make some closing statements. So, sir, you are next up. What's your name?
My name is Jay. Gentlemen, thank you for being here, and thank you for having the guts, unlike this knucklehead, to come on by today.
He just pointed at Jerry Brown's skeleton.
Exactly. So, you know, I'm more than just a Neel supporter. Okay, Tim, I do have a lot of respect for you. I met you last year during Andy Vadak's walk. I don't expect you to remember me, but, you know, I'm more than just a Neel supporter. I'm more than just one of the smallest minorities. Excuse me. Please be respectful.
Hey,
Thank you.
Guys, calm down. Let him talk.
Okay, I'm more than just one of the smallest minorities in the state and in the country. What I'm also is a Marine combat veteran. Okay, so
Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Okay, so you know the other Marine story hits home for me also, just like it did a year ago. what I want to ask you, Mr. Donnelly, is this. You earlier mentioned that the GOP is kicking on you because they're afraid of you, okay? Because nobody kicks a dead dog. However, that's exactly what you're doing with Neel, with the false comments that you and your campaign have made, linking him to Sharia law, which are absolutely false. So can you please, I'm coming to my question right now, can you please honestly say that you did make that false statement, or your campaign did, because you know that he has the potential to beat you in this primary?
Well,
hey, sit down, sir.
Go ahead, Tim.
First of all, I have a tremendous amount of respect for your service. Thank you. And we put up a Facebook post and the world exploded over an issue that really boils down to something very simple. Mr. Kashkari held a seminar when he was the assistant to the Treasury, and he was running TARP. And it was called Islamic Finance 101. And given what we all know about Sharia, and I think we all agree, I think everyone agrees in this state, all you have to do is look at that Beverly Hills hotel. It's vacant because Jay Leno and Ellen DeGeneres and a whole lot of other people agree with me and with you that Sharia is barbaric. So hold on. So here's the question. Given that the seminar was targeted at U.S. government workers in the Treasury Department, and some of the speakers were there to present on making the Treasury or suggesting how they can be compliant with Sharia. Given how barbaric Sharia is, why would we want to be compliant to anything
You're talking
Sharia?
About financially compliant? You're saying that's what the seminar
dealing
was
with
about?
banking laws, yeah.
All right. Neel, you want to respond to that?
Well, thank you for asking the question. I worked for President Bush in the Treasury Department. One of the goals of Treasury is to promote free markets around the world. So if you want to do business in Japan, you have to start by understanding the laws of Japan. American banks want to go into Middle Eastern countries and push our financial products and our free markets there. So you have to start by understanding the laws in those countries. It had absolutely nothing to do with bringing Islamic law to America. And I'll tell you the truth, folks. The idea that President George W. Bush, the man who worked so hard to make us safe, the idea that his administration would try to bring Islamic law to America is outrageous, it's offensive, and you should be ashamed of yourself, Tim.
All right.
Well, I actually brought the document with me, and the question is very simple. It's targeted at U.S. government employees, not at the Islamic community. Hold on, let me finish.
It's targeted at policymakers who regulate American banks that want to do business abroad.
It has nothing to do with promoting free market principles when they say we want to be compliant with Sharia.
You think that George Bush wants to bring Islamic law to America?
Look at the
spaceship called, Tim. They want you to join them.
Look at the date of the conference that you were part of.
George W. Bush. You think George Bush wants to bring Islamic law to America?
Good
luck, buddy.
I think that given that this was something you did while you were at the Department
Bush
of
administration
Treasury
official,
and you were helping to bail out Wall Street, I think you owe the people an answer for what they meant when they said they wanted to make us compliant to Sharia.
Right. I think we've done enough on this because this is not an issue that's going to affect anybody here in California.
But good emotion, like
I want most of the debate to be about the issues that everybody's struggling with here in the state. But I'm glad you both got your say on this.
Should we do the closings now?
I think we should do the closings. Or why don't we take a break and then we?
Yeah, if you guys can stay another couple of minutes,
stay a few more minutes.
Both of you can stay a couple more minutes, and we'll let you make your closing statements, and then you can fight. No, I'm just kidding. All right. We're at the Ayers Hotel in Anaheim, and, of course, we're hosting this governor's debate between Tim Donnelly and Neel Kashkari, and when we come back, we'll do their closing statements.
John and Ken Show, Ayers Hotel in Anaheim. Shannon has the news.
Hundreds of firefighters on the...
John and Ken Show, John Cobell and Ken Champeau, KFI, AM 640 more. Stimulating talk radio. Final segment. We thank Tim Donnelly and Neel Kashkari for staying an extra segment so we could finish up with their closing statements here in Anaheim. Thank you all for coming, by the way, in the audience as well, and behaving semi-civilized.
And we thank the Ayers Hotel for hosting us, of course, on the website, ayershotels.com, AYRES hotels.com.
One quick question before the final statements, because first I said it was going to be the opening question, but I decided to save it to the end. If elected, will both you guys promise to throw your body in front of the high-speed train?
Absolutely. Day one, that train is dead.
All right.
Yeah, Neil's
Tim?
used the crazy train.
Tim?
I think I'm going to throw the other poor bastard in front of the train.
Do you want to specifically identify the other poor bastard, or
No.
just leave that up? Okay.
Wow.
Now it's time for closing statements, and if I remember, Tim went first?
Yes, for the
Okay,
opening.
so Neel, you go first for your closing.
Thank you. And John and Ken and Tim, thank you for being here. Thank you to the audience. I want to grow our party. Folks, we're down to 28%. Every year, the number of Republicans shrink. And if we keep shrinking, we're never going to win another election. And Kevin Faulconer just did it in San Diego by bringing everyone together, focusing on hard work, on fiscal conservative principles, and he crushed his labor-funded Democratic opponent. That's exactly what I want to do in California. I want to unite all Californians around the principles of hard work, personal responsibility, and the rule of law. That's how we grow. That's how we beat Jerry Brown. That's how we rebuild the middle class. Thank you very much.
I just want to ask you, you keep mentioning the San Diego mayor's race, Neil. I just want to know, is the registration there as lopsided as it's got in California?
15% Democratic registration.
Okay, we have Kevin on the show many times. He's a great guy, and I'm glad he won that election. But I just wanted to point that out to people. All right, Tim.
You know, the government has become the greatest threat to our future success. And Californians didn't need a poll that 72% of Americans agree with you. Because we have Jerry Brown, who is the poster child of big government. And here's the deal. If we're going to take back this state, we got to work together. That means we got to stop demonizing each other and dividing each other by race and by party. Because the fastest growing party in the state of California is neither, and it's that way for a reason. So you know what? We need to understand Democrats aren't the enemy. Tyranny is the enemy of freedom. And we have a whole lot of modern day examples with the NSA spying on us, with the IRS trying to silence us, and with the BLM and the EPA depriving us of private property rights. We need to send somebody who understands the fight, and I will tell you how I'm going to win. I'm going to win with your help, because I can't do this alone. And I have over 1,000 people walking this weekend, but that's not enough. I need every one of you to go to my website, electtimdonnelly.com, and I need you to sign up and volunteer to make California the land of opportunity again and retire Jerry Brown in 2014 and elect Tim Donnelly for governor. God bless you and Godspeed.
All right. We want to thank both of you guys for coming.